Good day, family. I hope you're having a wonderful day today. I want to do this, and I hope I can stick to this, family. Okay, so by the way, Dwayne of SambaTree, SambaTree.com. I wanted to read this book to you. Well, I'm not going to read the whole thing, but I want to read parts of it, and which I would hope would be a part of an ongoing series. The name of this book is called The Cancer Cure That Worked. I don't know if you have this book. If you don't have this book, you definitely need to get it, because it will open your eyes up a little bit to, yes, there are solutions to things like cancer. If you're in my age group, which is relatively young, 50, in the 50s, okay, you grew up in a world, or even, older than me, you grew up in a world where cancer was seen as something that once you get it, it's too late for you. You just, it's just no answer. You're going to die. It's just it's not a matter of if, it's a matter of when. And no, it is not the case at all. And well, unfortunately, that has happened for so many people. But has it ever entered into your mind that perhaps, just perhaps, that, these people did not have to die? Many of them did not. And it's very true. Now, I live in the Pennsylvania area, in Philadelphia area, I should say. And I can tell you right now, I mean, there are buildings going up right now. There's a large building that's going up right now. It's yet another cancer research center that's down the street from another cancer research center. There are billions and billions of dollars that the medical industry has been making on the quote unquote researching of cancer. Well, did you know that there have already been solutions for cancer that were discovered many, many years ago? And so this is why I want to take the time to read a little bit of this book for you, so that hopefully you can kind of, see that, the solutions to all of our diseases. I used to say many, but now I'm saying all of the diseases, the sicknesses and stuff that we, may go through. It's out there, in nature. And, honestly, it's going to take a lifetime. I know in this generation, we want just that one silver bullet, like, okay, I'm dealing with this. What's that? What's the solution for it? Give it to me right now. Because this knowledge has been scattered literally all over and hidden and all of that, it's going to take time. It's going to take time. But fortunately, there are things out here that you will find that do address things like cancer and other diseases as well. A lot of herbs that are out here that address that. But anyway, I don't want to get too into that. What I do want to do is read from this book. It's called The Cancer Cure That Worked, 50 Years of Suppression. And this book was written by Barry Lyons, or I would say Lyons. Hope I'm saying that right. So what I want to do is I'm going to read the first chapter for you. And quite interesting. It's going to give you a rundown of various cases where doctors did discover this, the solution for this, but things happened. Okay. All right. So this is chapter 1, and this is called The Cure for Cancer. In the summer of 1934 in California, under the auspices of the University of Southern California, a group of leading American bacteriologists and doctors conducted the first successful cancer clinic. The results showed that cancer was caused by a microorganism, that the microorganism could be painlessly destroyed in terminally ill cancer patients, and that the effects of the disease could be reversed. The technical discovery leading to the cancer cure had been described in the Science magazine in 1931. In the decade following the 1934 clinical success, the technology and the subsequent successful treatment of cancer patients was discussed at medical conferences. Disseminated in a medical journal, cautiously but professionally reported in a major newspaper, and technically explained in an annual report published by the Smithsonian Institute. However, the cancer cure threatened a number of scientists, physicians, and financial interests. A cover-up was initiated. Physicians using the new technology were coerced into abandoning it. The author of the Smithsonian article was followed and then was shot while driving his car. He never wrote about the subject again. All reports describing the cure were censored by the head of the AMA, which is the American Medical Association, from major medical journals. Objective scientific evaluation by government laboratories was prevented, and renowned researchers who supported the technology and its new scientific principles in bacteriology were scorned, ridiculed, and called liars to their face. Eventually, a long, dark silence lasting decades fell over the cancer cure. In time, the cure was labeled a quote-unquote myth. It never happened. However, documents now available prove that the cure did exist, was tested successfully in clinical trials, and in fact was used secretly for years afterwards, continuing to cure cancer as well as other diseases. Yet, despite the blackout which prevented doctors and researchers from knowing about and improving the cure, other scientific investigators continued to verify the basic principles. In the late 1940s and early 1950s, cooperating researchers at a hospital laboratory in New Jersey and a research institute in Pennsylvania made similar discoveries which unknowingly aligned them with the California group of a decade earlier. In 1950, these researchers prepared to make a presentation before the New York Academy of Sciences, but again, political forces intervened and the symposium was canceled. Then in 1953, the basic science which validated the theories of the California group was explained by the New Jersey group at an international microbiology conference in Rome, Italy. The New York Times and the Washington Post reported the discovery. However, upon the group's return to America, they discovered that the same powerful forces which had prevented an American announcement in 1950 had secretly managed to terminate the financing of the New Jersey laboratory. The leading researcher was forced to move to California and start anew. In December of that year, the leader of the California group and the man most responsible for the successful healing of cancer in the 1930s, after years of silence, published a description of the methods and results of the cancer cure. The authorities at the government's National Cancer Institute in Washington, D.C., received a copy of the National Library of Medicine outside of Washington, D.C., in Bethesda, Maryland, but it ignored it. The library staff responsible for filing and circulating such reports to the officials determining cancer research policy either failed to do their jobs or were met with opposition from those in charge of the war on cancer. Still, new researchers continue to appear on the scene. The process of rediscovering what the California group had found continued. In the late 1950s, an international conference was held in Europe. The topic was the same topic which the California group had championed in 1930s and which played a critical part in the successful cancer cure. In 1959, another cancer researcher tested the cancer microorganism on herself and developed cancer. But again, the event had little impact in the scientific hierarchy which managed the cancer program. Finally, in 1967, the work of the Pennsylvania group was reported to the Annals of the New York Academy of Sciences. Then in 1969, the New Jersey group presented its findings to the New York Academy of Sciences, and requests for reprints poured in from around the country. Yet the cancer authorities determining how public and private research and treatment would be funded again ignored the discoveries which now were scientific, laboratory replaceable facts. In 1974, a major work in the bacteriology field was published. It showed how the claims of the bacteriologists involved in the 1930s California clinic had been validated in the ensuing decades. Laboratory proof after laboratory proof convincingly demonstrated that the orthodox theories of the cancer authorities who dominated virus and bacteria research as well as cancer treatment in the 1930s, 40s, 50s, and 60s were fundamentally wrong. In 1976, the first The first article in 30 years describing the California's group technology and clinical results was published in a popular magazine. The article appeared in the New Age Journal from Boston, Massachusetts. It outlined 40 years of inattention and suppression by the cancer authorities. And at that time, the magazine had a small circulation, although it is now nationally distributed monthly. But again, nothing happened. Neither the public nor the medical professionals pursued the medical story of the 20th century, a tested, verified, painless cure for cancer. In 1980, two French researchers published a book which showed the original ideas of the California group were now international scientific facts. Although orthodox medical authorities continued to believe theories which were directly contradicted by laboratory demonstrations, the basis for an entirely new approach to cancer research and treatment was a scientifically established reality. In 1986, an authority in the field summarized the current situation as follows. Only in the past 2 to 4 years have microbiologists developed the slightest interest in living microorganisms. When they start truly looking at living microorganisms, the process of change taking place before their eyes will confound the problem. We are going to have to teach them that what they are seeing. It is totally different. It is a totally different world than what they think they know. In the past year, a leading scientist from Europe has re-examined the work and claims of the California group, which cured cancer in the 1930s. He concluded the principle is sound. What follows is a complex tale of scientific brilliance and determination by a number of researchers. Sadly, it is also a tale of scientific ignorance, deception, abuse of power, and criminal acts. Congress, the media, and the scientific community should begin public investigations of these matters if the public trust is not to be further eroded. More than 1,200 Americans will die from cancer in the next 24 hours, nearly 1 death in every minute. Surely it is time for the suffering to stop. Again, that was chapter 1 of The Cancer Cure That Worked, 50 Years of Suppression, written by Barry Lenz. So I actually picked up this copy on Amazon, and I would encourage you, to pick up your copy as well, because family, listen, we have to start believing that we do not have to go out in these diseases and sicknesses, and your end doesn't have to be in a hospital. Do you know how many times people have died in hospitals? Hospitals are considered some of the most dangerous places for people to work and to be there if they're a patient, because you have so many diseases and stuff that are just all around. They oftentimes they have all these strict protocols. I actually, many years ago, when I was much younger, I worked at the CDC. Yes, the Centers for Disease Control in Atlanta, Georgia. I actually worked there. I was part of the IT team, one of the IT teams there. And the labs that I had to go in, they had very strict, clean policies and making sure that, you don't just go up in there willy-nilly. You had to make sure that, things were clean and all that. And you can constantly smell the cleansers and stuff in the air. But even in environments like that, people were still getting sick. I was getting sick. You know what I'm saying? Thankfully, I didn't, get anything that was too serious. But yeah, in hospitals and medical arenas, yes, you do have a lot of sicknesses and stuff that are floating around here. And when you think about a patient going into a practice, well, think about that for a second. You're going into a medical practice. What are they doing? They're practicing their medicine on you. And that's why you got to be patient. That's why you got to be patient when you go into them, because they're sitting up there like, well, try this. I don't know. Try that. So our commitment to our people is that we want to see as many of our people as possible leave these facilities, leave these offices, leave these practices, so that you can equip yourself with the right knowledge, with the right info, and so that you can live a happy, whole and healthy life. And that's what really prompted us to start what we have, SambaTree, SambaTree.com. If you take a look at the page, just take a time. We have really made a commitment to make sure that the things that we offer, like we just did a video recently talking about the different teas. We don't just grab different teas just because, oh, that looks pretty or it smells nice. No, we focus on teas that address different sicknesses and diseases that our people suffer from. So we're very particular in the teas that we offer. And plus they taste good and they look good and all of that too. But we're very serious and very committed to see as many of our people as possible leave these facilities, leave these practices, you know, because even when you start thinking about these insurance companies and how they just think of any and every excuse to not to give you what you supposed to get, and that is health care. You know what I mean? And so it is possible. And I just want you to know that it is very, very possible to live a life that is that's healthy, and you're full of wellness, you're well, and you're happy. And that is something that we're very committed to. And like I said, this is something that, we're going to try to, as I get little time here, I'll be reading excerpts from different books and resources and stuff, just as kind of a way for you, to do your own research on these things as well. Just never, ever, 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 ever take my word for it or anybody else that you find online. I don't care how many degrees they have or what they don't have. Always do your own research. Always ask questions. If you don't know, ask. Even people who have all the degrees are still asking questions. So that's what puts you in common with someone that's a doctor. You're both asking questions. We were born asking questions. That's how you learn. And but there are a number of things out here that can address so many different sicknesses and diseases that we suffer from. And it just takes the willingness to start looking in that direction. And we're going to do everything we can on our end to make sure that our people are enlightened, and you can find out to kind of open up the weeds, so to speak, so that you can say, we can point and say, see, there's a trail here of discovery. Once you go down there, you can find out. I guarantee you're going to find some information down there. So that's what we're going to do. That's what we do here, and that's what we're going to continue to do. So thank you again. This is Dwayne for SambaTree.com. Check us out when you get a chance, and we'll be putting out a lot more information in the coming days, weeks, and months ahead. You guys take care, and I'll see you next time.